wanted to take a second and show you my setup here. I finally got all the links complete, and I had to push little ball joints into each link. Some of them I actually had to remove and lubricate just to make sure they have full movement, and some of them I'll still need to put like a long pin in and kind of wiggle them all around so that they're nice and free moving, because you want these links to be helping the suspension do the job and not so much interfere with the suspension. So if those bind at all, you kind of got to work out the kinks. You might have to reprint a couple things along those lines, but definitely make sure all of these ends are nice and loose. But here's what I did to have this thing done inside so I can film it for you guys. I could have just gone to my garage and put it all in a vise, but I essentially have a clamp holding this plastic 3D printed clamp onto the table. This printed clamp is holding the C-clamp, and I used my C-clamp that I use for automotive purposes to clamp and to push in each ball joint into the end of each link. So now that these are done, let's keep moving. Alright, I learned something new today. There are two types of outrunner motors. I went ahead and bought this on Amazon. So if you look closely here, there is a shaft coming out from the part that's the back that has this the wires coming out of it. Let me show you on the one I have. This essentially is the back, because on our kit that's where it mounts, and then the rest of it spins. So the shaft on this motor should have been coming out of the back. That's the link I'll include in my build guide. But if you ended up with one of these, I could still get it working. What I had to do to get this working, since the shaft is on the other side, I had to cut it off. I cut it off with a cutting wheel. It took seconds. It was really easy to do. And then I designed this little three bolt adapter that lets us put on our final gear on here. So this will be completely functional in every way. You just have to do slightly more work. The only downside to this is you do need 2.5 by 6 millimeter hardware, and that was kind of hard to source. I had to buy it online, which ended up having this cost more than the original. The blue one that you just saw is around $22. This one's around $18. I didn't realize that there was two types of these things, so I went ahead and ordered this, trying to get the price as low as possible. So it did end up being a couple dollars more with this hardware. But if you already have one of these, or you already ordered it, or you have it from another project, whatever it might be, maybe you couldn't even get the other one because it's unavailable, you can make these work. I'll have a link to this adapter in the description. As far as this gearbox goes, man, what an awesome gearbox. The reduction is great. It weighs a ton. It feels completely bulletproof, and is definitely silent, which is really nice. The only thing we have left to do is just to put on this last piece, throw on our cover on the back, and make sure everything is spaced out correctly, and then we are ready to go. So let's get on with the build. Not much left for this portion, and there's still a ton to put together. So let's get going. wow, I just noticed a hilarious mistake. I have built a rear open axle instead of a front one. So I actually have to take this apart and make these shorter. It's probably this one and this one. Lovely. As you can see, it's quite long. That's funny. Alright, let's take this apart, clean up the grease, and wow, rebuild it with the short one. Alright, that's a bit more like it. That looks more like the front axle, huh? Alright, let's keep going. Alright, so I got all the wiring together. I soldered some extensions because I know I'm going to have to run some wiring throughout the truck. Everything is plugged in. I went ahead and used this little plug to go ahead and make sure that the receiver is attached to my transmitter. And I did turn everything on. I went ahead and went through the instructions, and I set the ESC to reverse and forward with braking. And then I turned it off. And then I turned the camera on. So right now the steering servo is inside the truck, as you guys saw when I previously installed it. Right now that's running to the receiver. The receiver is also plugged into the ESC. The battery is plugged into the ESC, and we have the entire gearbox sitting in this vise. Let's power it on. Alright, we got our two beeps. No lights are on. Yep. Steering servo is working. Nice and sensitive. And there's plenty of settings in the receiver that you can, or in the transmitter rather, that you can set. You can set end stops, you can set how fast, you can have it go slower if you wanted to. Lots of settings right here for you to mess with once everything is running. But let's give it some gas and see if everything is running in the transmission.